right, welcome back for another episode of Chasing Ghosts. This is the video series where I talk about those hard to find, those impossible to find comics, those things you really got to work at to track down if you want to try to add them to your collection. These aren't things that you're normally going to see up on the wall of your LCS. These are things going to take a little bit of extra work because print runs might be lower, and they're just really, really tough to just nail down when you go out there hunting. That all said, hopefully you enjoy this series as well as everything else here on Rennavision. Tell me what you think in the comments section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Continue to keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. Check out the live shows on Wednesdays and on Sundays. And yeah, so if you want to see what books I have picked out, along with a little bit of a buying story that I have for you, because I don't think I can control myself. I got to kind of tell this story this week. Maybe I should save it for the tax show, but I think I'm just going to kind of hint at it at least a little bit here. But that all said, if you want to check all that out, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. Okay, so as you know by now, if you've watched this show, I've done this is episode 50, and I've done a couple of Star Wars specials that went unnumbered. So this is more than 50 episodes of this series. So by now, if you've watched these, you kind of get where I get these books. I have a long list of books that I still need to tackle, but I still pay attention to some of your guys, Instagram posts and some of your pickups and things like that. And when ones catch my eye, it sometimes leads me to go researching and digging into things. And another such occasion, just like I believe last week, this week, Triple C had Storm number 2. This variant, this 1 in 25 variant, this Pascal Ferry cover. Again, not easy to find, not easy to track down. I agree. So I had to go and look into it and see exactly what we had going on with this book. So we're going to cover it here on the show too. So thank you, Triple C, for sharing this one for everybody. And this book, again, I like this cover. I like the blue. It's a fantastic cover. This is the kind of like 1 in 25 I like to find, especially if you can find them for cheap, because it's just an oddball book. It's not a main title. It's not heavily printed, as we're about to get into, and it's just things that I like to track down. But this one might already be a little expensive for me, so I might not be able to pick this one up just yet, unless I get lucky. 1 in 25, as I noted, August 2014 is when it came out. The total estimated print run for the Storm title at that time was about 25,000 thereabouts. So the incentive is just a hair over 1,000 copies, which, again, it's not a tiny number, but it's also not a very big number either. So definitely not one you're going to see everywhere when you go out shopping. And when you check the census, there is only the 9.8 in there right now. So very little submitted, if any, except that one. Realistically, at least right now. And when we check what's actually sold recently, I didn't see any sold onto eBay recently. And then when I checked what's actually available, I only found this one copy that is asking for a little over $100, and it's from over in the UK. So you're gonna have to pay an additional $30 shipping to get it to the US if you are a US viewer. But this one is not that cheap. And there's only that one out there right now, so it's also not that easy to find. So, I don't know. Another tough book. But with that, I felt like, you know what? We should look at the rest of the series too, because there are some other covers I also like in this Storm run. I skipped over issue 1 because that was the most heavily printed of the series, as well as I didn't care for the cover as much as this one or the next issue, which is issue number 3 here. And I really do dig this cover. I believe this is Stephanie Hahn's cover. We might see a few of her covers in today's selections. But this is another 1 in 25. This one from September of 2014, the next month. Print run dipped down just a little bit from the month before, so down to about 22,000, which is going to give this incentive only about 883 potential copies. Again, these are estimated numbers. Nothing's written in stone. This is just based off the information that's available to all of us if you want to go out looking. I'm just doing the legwork for you to present this in an easy manner for you guys to check out. As far as the census goes, we only got six total, 5 9/8, and it looks like a 9/2, all blue labels for this book. So again, not a lot of copies submitted for this one either. And I kind of like this cover, but if you want to know what the market is, there isn't one because none have sold recently. And if you want to go and buy one, well, there is one, but it is also looking for about $100. So again, once again, not cheap. It's not going to be a cheap pickup for this 1 in 25. So good luck if you can find it out there in the wild. And if you do, and if you find any of these books or any books in general that you thought were very, very tough, please tag me on Instagram. I love seeing your guys' pickups. I love seeing these tough books get added into collections because it gives me hope that I can find them too. I'm just like you. I'm just a collector. I'm not a dealer. I don't have access to to all these books or anything like that. I got to go hunting, scratching, and digging just like the rest of you. So just let me know when you guys get lucky. I like it. I like getting that extra bit of support too. Just like, you know what, I can find it too. So and so found it. I can find one too. I'm going to keep looking. Now, that said, after looking into these Storm books off of Triple C's post on that issue two, I started thinking, well, what other of the X-Men series? Because at the time at Marvel, they gave a few of the X-Men their own solo series. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go look into their solo series real quick. And the first one I decided to look into was Nightcrawler, because I've seen a couple of the Nightcrawler 1 in 25s at a shop near me, and they're asking for a very small amount. And I keep looking at them and not buying them because I don't love the covers, but I might just pick them up the next time I'm there just because. But the one I did not see there and wish I would have is this one. This issue one for Nightcrawler, this Humberto Ramos cover. I like it. I dig it. I love the purples and the blues and the reds. I just like the whole setup of it. I think it's a really cool cover. And it's a 1 in 50 back in April 2014. So again, right around that same time, they were giving all these X-Men their own solo titles for a stretch. And this one had a estimated print run of about just under 50,000, so 49,000 plus. So that's going to make our 1 in 50 incentive only about 988 copies. Again, potentially. So just under 1,000 potential copies for this 1 in 50, because it is a 1 in 50. That's a pretty high incentive, a little higher than normal. So not going to be as many printed because how many shops are actually ordering 50 copies of Nightcrawler. That all said, when we check the census to see what we have there, there's only 16 with 12 9/8s, a 9/6, a couple 9/4s, and it looks like a single 9/2 as well. Checking the market to see what's actually sold. This is another case where nobody's buying these X-Men books because there's another one without any sales the last 3 months. And if you want to go and buy one, as I was kind of curious, when I do research, sometimes I buy, and I'll tell you guys when I do. And I was looking for this one because if it was at a price, a little under ratio, I might have bought. But I also came up unlucky because there were none listed for sale. So couldn't find one to buy. So I don't know what the market might be on this one right now. So not very much information to give you. But again, if you guys find one in a shop, tag me, let me know. And if it's a good enough price and you don't want to buy it, maybe you can buy it for me and I'll give you the money. Just saying, because I like this book and I'm looking for one. That said, let's move on to the next X-Men. I'm just going to do one more X-Men solo title for this week. I don't want to overdo it. But we're going to go over to Cyclops, and we're going to skip past issue 1 because there were actually plenty of them, and it's a very cheap book. Like $5 cheap, I think, for the 1 in 25. But I kind of dig this issue 2, just the 3 color, the black, white, and red. This is John Tyler Christopher, I believe. I can see the JTC signature there. I love kind of the the color bleed or whatever with the white, and it's just black, white, and red. I like it. And this is a 1 in 25 for the second issue of this Cyclops solo series. Came out in June of 2014. So again, the 2014 spring summertime is where we're getting a lot of these books, at least for right now. The estimated total print run on issue 2 was about 31,000. So that's making our incentive a pretty healthy 1,200 plus. So it's not a tiny number, like I said, but still not a ton. We're not talking tens of thousands, 3,000-4,000 or anything like that. It's still relatively low by all accounts. In the census, there are only the 398s, and that is it. 398s. That's all that's been subbed for this particular book. And this particular book, when I did find a sale, it actually sold for very cheap. $5. 2 bids to get it to $5. And the $5 shipping. So well under ratio. And just again, a pretty cool book. Like I said, it's not an impossible book, but for $5, I'd be in. I like it for $5. And what's out there to buy? Well, there is a copy for sale, and it's not too bad. It's only the one copy I could find right now, and it's just under $12, but it is coming from Germany. So you're gonna have that weight, and even the shipping from Germany is not too bad. It's only about $10 there, so a little over 20 for this one. So it's still under ratio, that copy. It is tempting. But we'll see how I feel a little bit later in the week. I can't buy everything that I like. I'll look, even when they're cheap, I'll consider. But if any of you like it more, go ahead, feel free, have at it. If you beat me to it, go ahead. But that's issue 2. And then I wanted to look at the final issue of the series. It only ran 12 issues. This this run of Cyclops. And the final issue has this pretty cool cover. This is only a 1 in 20, though. It's not a 1 in 25 like the last few. This is a 1 in 20. This came out in April of 2015. So again, near the end of the run, so it's a whole year later. Print run was down to about 26,000, but since it's a 1 in 20, there are about 1,300 copies or so of this particular one. So you get that kind of factored in. I think this is a Sorrentino cover, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. If I am, please correct me in the comments, or I'll look it up later. But if memory serves, and if I can read that tiny little signature, I think this might be a Sorrentino cover. But I dig it, regardless of who the artist is. And in the census, there are only 4, 2 9/8s and 2 9/6s. So once again, a book that just doesn't have a lot of submissions. These aren't like the huge titles, the super hot books. So these are just kind of oddball little X-Men solo titles that are just out there from a decade ago. And these are the incentives that came with them. So tracking these things down could be easy or could be very tough. It depends where you are, because a lot of people just aren't listening to this stuff. It's not because they don't exist and they're not out there. It's just at the time, there may not be copies available. So don't get that twisted when I'm doing these chasing ghosts. This is just a moment in time that I'm giving you. So right now, when I look at things, if there's one copy or no copies, I'll call it a ghost. But that doesn't mean there aren't copies out there to be had. It's just, if I wanted to look right now, I can't find one. That's all I'm saying. And hopefully you get that, and hopefully you understand that, because these are all estimated numbers. We don't know any of these numbers for certain. We're just making our best guess. And again, you buy what you like. Just don't let anybody pressure you into buying anything just because they say so. Just, if you like it, it's your money. You spend it how you want to. I'm just trying to give you information. You do with that information what you choose to. And with that said, this particular book, this 1 in 20, recently sold for, not too bad, $10. $10. We're talking like under ratio, half ratio. That's usually where I love buying these types of books, just because I think it's worth it. Because even if I would have bought this book off the shelf, it would have been $4, to buy the regular copy. So to get the 1 in 20 for a couple bucks more, more than double, it's not that bad. Like, I don't know. These are the kinds of things that I like looking for. But that copy sold way back in February. So that one's probably going to drop off pretty soon off of the histories, because it only goes back 3 months on eBay. And when we look at what's out there right now, I can only find a couple of copies available, and they both want 40. There's 2 copies out there, and they both want $40, which double ratio, I'm not so keen in jumping in just yet. As much as I like this, I'm just personally not making that jump. Up next, we're going to move off of the X-Men. We're just going to hop over just real quick for a quick little Spidey book, because there's tons of Spidey books we can look at. I don't want to overdo it there either. So we're just going to look at this one, Web Warriors, number 3. I think this is Tom Whalen. I think that's who the artist is. I like these kind of profile covers that he does. And this one has multiple Spidey characters. As we get basically a lot of the characters from Into the Spider-Verse, plus Spider-Woman down there, or Spider-Girl, I should say. But this is a 1 in 25 incentive from January of 2016. So again, still kind of that same kind of time frame. I mean, as the other books we were looking at, 2014 to 2016. In those couple of years, there were a lot of interesting variants released. At least to me, I find them interesting, because print runs weren't super huge. We're talking about another 25,000, which is only going to give us maybe about 1,000 on the incentive, if we do that quick math, the 125 math. In the census, it also kind of supports that there aren't a lot of them, because I only could find another few of each 9/2, 9/6, 9/8. So again, not a lot graded on this one either. Going on to what's actually sold recently, though, there are a few. With April 4th, off the 6 bids, only up to $33, pretty cheap. $35 buy it now, the beginning of March. Also, the beginning of March, one sold buy it now for $150. That's a pretty healthy disparity between the same day purchases of $35 and $150. But that's what it's showing. I don't know if a best offer was accepted, because it usually shows it with a strike, and then I usually have to track the number down elsewhere. But if we're going off of what's shown here, anywhere from like $30 to $150 this thing has sold for within the last few months. And if you want to go buy a copy, well, you do have a couple of options, and they are all closer to that higher sale. 110, 125, $150 for the 3 copies that are out there right now. So I think everybody's looking forward to the next Across the Spider-Verse, or whatever they're changing the title to. I haven't read the article yet to see what they're changing the title to, but apparently they're changing it. And there's a lot of Spider characters in it. That said, I haven't seen what it's going to be changed to. This book has some healthy prices, so I am personally I'm sitting this one out at these prices. But I'll keep an eye out for it in case I can find one, because I do dig the cover, and for the right price, I'd probably be picking it up. But these aren't the right prices for me personally. But again, that's my budget. Your budget may be completely different than mine. So you do what you want to do. Next up, we're going to hop on over to the all new Ultimates. Not to be confused with the Ultimate Universe per se, but we do have Miles here with a bunch of other younger characters. These have some pretty interesting 1 in 25 covers in the first few issues. The David Nakayama regular covers are really cool as well. So this is a kind of a fun series to go pick up, even just for those regular covers. You can find them in the cheap bins, the dollar bins. I think I mentioned them before. My buddy Chris Nelms has mentioned them before. Those are pretty good books to go and scoop up if you can for super cheap. These are going to be the 1 in 25 incentives for that series. April 2014. So we're going back to that spring of 2014 for the start of this little run because we're going to do the first three. 30,000 on this issue 1. So the incentive's only going to be about 1,200 on the first issue of the series. CGC numbers are showing only 8 in the census, with 3 9/8s, a 9/6, looks like 3 9/2s, and then a random 8/5 for this particular one. Still, 8 is not a big number of submissions for this book. 1 in 25, a few years old. Not easy to, I guess, track down and get subbed, at least conditions. We look here at what's sold in the last couple of months. Both of these for sales were in March, and both of them had asks of 150, 160 bucks. They both took $110 on those best offers. So 110 bucks is what this thing is sold for recently, as recent as March. So not a cheap book. Despite the 1,200 copies, still not a cheap book. Print run is not everything. It's supply and demand, everybody. So if there's a more demand than there is supply, regardless of how many copies, the book's going to be pricier. And if you want to go buy one, well, you might have a shot. 80 bucks. There's one at auction that's starting at 50 bucks, or you can just buy it out right now for 100, or you can buy another one 160 bucks. And there are a few more. These are just a few examples. So there were multiple copies of this one available right now. So you have a pick. You have a chance if you're interested in this one. But again, they're still not that cheap. They're still not that cheap for a 1 in 25. That said, that's issue 1. I dig the cover. It's pretty cool. And, like I said, you got Miles and a couple of these other characters here, but Cloak and Dagger, I believe. But moving on to issue 2, this one apparently isn't too bad. So this is another 1 in 25, May of 2014. I mean, the pink cover kind of sticks out at you a little bit. You get a little bit of that, again, that color bleed, that kind of a negative space going on there with the jacket and the pinkish hue, the magenta or whatever. Fuchsia. Maybe fuchsia is the color that I'm looking for. But still, interesting take, interesting cover. This one had a print run of only about 24,000, so the incentive is just under 1,000, 966 by my math. And this one has none submitted to CGC, so I didn't have any census to share with you on that one. So this number 2, 1 in 25, no submissions. Nobody felt like getting this one graded. When we check what it sells for, it's could be pretty cheap. I mean, yes, February, there's one at ratio, 25 bucks, but 2 bids in March for $6.69. 2 bids it had to get to there. So once again, if you are a seller of some of these kind of random, not really thought about variants, don't auction them. It's my suggestion. You're not going to make your money. But as a buyer, keep an eye out for those auctions, because I'm pretty sure somebody placed an early bid when they saw this book, and then they probably just stayed there because there was probably no competition, because nobody else was looking for that book, which is why they only got 2 bids, and it was only $6.70. It's all about timing, and when you put yourself in being hamstrung for somebody looking for a random book like this in like a week time frame, you're cutting yourself off from potential other buyers who might not be looking this week, who might be coming to market next week. That's all I'm saying. So you're better off, if you're a seller of something like this, listing it with a best offer, buy it now with a best offer price, and then you can field offers. But we'll get more on that kind of process in a little bit, because I got a story to tell. Granted, I probably should save it for TAC, but I think I'm going to do it here once we get to those books. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, what's actually available for this book? Well, it's kind of in that same kind of ballpark, I think. We got here at 17 bucks, 19 bucks are just examples, and there's a few more. But these are just kind of the broad scope range that it's under ratio if you like this one. This one is under ratio, and there are multiple copies out there for you if you're interested. Once again, I'm probably setting this one out because I don't love this cover. I like it, but I don't love it. So not rushing for this one. But that said, I do like the next cover, and our last one for this little run, issue 3. This is another Hans cover. Pretty cool. I like it. It's just something about the haziness and the streets. I dig it. This is a 1 in 25 from June of 2014. So the print run on this one's going to be a little bit lower, just under 22,000. So our incentive is only down to about 875 potential copies now. So we've gone from 1,200 down to just under 1,000. And now we're down at 875 as we've gone through these 1 in 25s. And this one does have 10 copies in the census with 698s, a 96, and then 394s. So still not a lot. Only 10 in the census. But this one actually does sell for a few bucks more. As you can see, the recent sales, a raw sold end of March for 90 bucks, and then February 20th, a 9.8 sold for 200 bucks. So not a cheap one, but yeah, could be worse, I guess. Could be more expensive. And if we want to look at what's on the market right now, there are a few to be had. Despite the low print run numbers, there are a few out there. But I think there's a few out there because a lot of people know this book and they're trying to get their money. So 100 bucks, 110 bucks raw, 225, 9/8. Not saying those are bad prices. I'm just saying those are the prices right now, and there are multiple copies out there. So if you want to buy in, there's your starting price. I mean, it is what it is. That's a little too rich for my blood right now. I do like this cover. I'd like to pick it up, but not at these prices because, again, I got a budget. So I got to save it and wait for something else. Now, going to hop off of Ultimates real quick for a couple of more Marvel books. I know I went Marvel heavy again this week, as I usually do, but that's more my bread and butter. I know more about Marvel, like offhand. That's just more reactionary, so I know what to look for on a week-to-week basis. But the next one we're going to look at is War of the Realms Omega #1. Now, this is, I believe, the first time that Jane Foster takes up the mantle of the Valkyrie character. This particular cover that I'm showing you here is the 1 in 50. This came out just a semi-recent July 2019. So only a couple of years ago on this one. This one had a decent print run of a little over 45,000, but since it's a 1 in 50, we're only looking at about 913 copies of this particular incentive. I don't love the cover. I think Yarden is the artist on this. It's okay, but it doesn't scream like gotta have to me, but it's still a decently tough to find book. Checking the census, there are 21 with a healthy 19 9/8s, and then a 9/6 and a 9/4. So a lot of high grades, but again, it's a very recent modern book, so not too surprised by that. And when we look at what's sold on the market recently, there was one sale, raw copy sold for just under ratio, $47. And if you want to go hunting for one, I only found another raw out there, but it was asking 70 bucks. So not terrible, considered it's a 1 in 50. I mean, it's over ratio, but there was only the one, which was surprising to me. I figured I would have saw a few more of those right now, but that's what's out there. That said, but since we're talking about Valkyrie and Jane Foster, because with Thor: Love and Thunder coming, I figured, you know what, let's take a look at the Valkyrie character for her. And she did have her own title, came out that same month. So July 2019, we also got Valkyrie #1. And there was a 1 in 100 variant, which I'm showing you here. It has some classic art. It's a nice little mixture here. You get Jane Foster, you get her as Thor, you get her as Valkyrie. You got, looks like, I guess, Hela down there and below in the middle. This also had a healthy 43,000-ish print run. So it's only going to have 429 potential copies for the 1 in 100, though, because this is a 1 in 100 incentive. So I may not love the art on this one either, but it is still a pretty low printed book by all measures. So 429 is not too many. Checking the CGC census, though, there are still 16 in the census for this book. So put that in perspective. These recent books have like 16, 18 copies, but some of those older variants had one or none in the census submitted. So it's just a matter of, I guess, the market now. Everybody wants to get stuff graded, I guess, these days. So this one has 11 9/8s, 4 9/6s, and a 9/4 for those 16 total. Copies sold recently could sell from anywhere around 40 bucks raw. A 9/6 accepted a best offer on 80, and then issued. I think that's issue 1, the 1 in 100. I think it's the 1 in 50 Terry Dodson. That set sold for a best offer on 100 bucks. I didn't bother going and pulling out those prices because it just, you get the idea for those. So it's under ratio. I mean, this is a 1 in 100. So to sell for 40 bucks or to sell with the 1 in 50 for under 100 bucks, it's selling under ratio. And even the 9/6, a best offer accepted on $80. They didn't even get the full 80. They got best offer on that $80. And then if you want to go buy one, these are the copies out there, which are actually a little more pricey than what's actually sold. So $325 for a 9/8, 130 or 75. So 75 to 130 are the asking prices for the two raws that are out in the market right now. Now, that's all I got for you from Marvel this week. And I'm going to hop over for two quick little DC books. And this is where you're going to get my little bit of a story. So in researching this, I wanted to do these Gotham Academy books for a little while now because I like them. I like these covers. I got a couple of them Got them for cheap because these are books you can usually find for cheap. These 1 in 25s. This is Gotham Academy number 5. I did find a seller that had this issue as well as the next issue in the series. They had both 1 in 25s. They had them up for $16.99 a piece with best offers. So on Sunday, I made a best offer on both books. Figured, you know what? I'm going to try to save on shipping. Before I'm filming this Porn Doing the article, yes, I told you, sometimes I'll buy them if I like them. And I like these covers. So I said, you know what? I'll go see if I can buy these. So I made a little offer just to start off negotiations. Offer was declined on Monday. Price, however, somehow became $36.99 for both of these books with that decline. And I had to ask the seller, I'm like, what's up? Like, you had these for $17 yesterday. I made you an offer, and now all of a sudden you're asking $20 more for each book. Is it because I'm interested in them or what? And I said, well, would you honor your $16.99 price of yesterday? Because I'll buy them then. But apparently the answer was no, because there's multiple interested parties apparently. So somehow in those, no, has anybody else been talking about these books? I don't know of anybody. I just was interested in them, so I was looking at them. So I don't know where all this interest came all of a sudden from Sunday night into Monday morning, where all these other interested parties were coming for these 2 books. But apparently there was a bevy of interest in these 2 books. So that required the increase in price. I'm going to keep going on the story, but I'm going to give you details as we go. This is, again, a 1 in 25 from February of 2015. 20,000 copies thereabouts. The incentive is only about 833, which is why I like it. It's not too many, and it's something I wouldn't mind adding to my collection, which I actually did. We'll get to that more in a minute. In the census for this one, this is issue 5. There are only 5. A pair of 9/8, a pair of 9/6s, and a 9/4. There were none sold recently. Until now, because I did buy one. But I'll get to that in a second. Multiple copies, though, for this one. There are copies available. As you can see here, there's that $16.99 one listed right there that I made my offer on. And there's a copy for $30 of best offer, which is not the one I bought. And then there's another copy for $45. So you can see there's multiple copies, and that's not even the one that I bought. I ended up buying one that was listed for I think $25 with the best offer with free shipping, and they accepted $20. So I did buy this for $20, even though I didn't get the graphic because it would have been extra work for me. But this all happened after this little discussion I had with the seller. So just to kind of get back to the discussion, because the other book that I was interested in was this issue 6, which is another really cool cover. So I'm going to continue the story as we go. So apparently there was a bevy of interest again in these books. So not only did the seller decide to decline my offers, but increase them by $20 a piece. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean, you can do your business how you want to do your business. All I'm saying is that's kind of a crappy thing to do to a buyer. Like, you know what you're doing. So don't try to tell these stories that, oh, bevy of interest. Because you know what? I told them I'm going to be looking. Hey, because you guys know I do research. I said, I'm going to be watching then. Let's see. It's like, if you have all this interest, I'm telling you right now, I'm out. So you should accept those other offers on the table. Go ahead, accept those other offers. Now, you're trying to shake me down for a few more bucks, I'm out. And like I said, I bought the one at a cheaper price than I would have even gotten from this seller. Because with that $17 plus shipping, it would have been over $20. So I already found a better deal. So it wasn't all about the price. Well, guess where those copies are now? They didn't sell. They just got pulled. So maybe they did sell. Maybe they did something shady and sold them offline, as you're not supposed to do on eBay. But maybe they did that. Maybe there were those other offers. Or maybe they just didn't like my response and decided to pull the listings because, again, their response was, apart from all of this interest, the prices were going crazy. You guys just saw what I showed you, right? Multiple copies available right around that $20, $25 range. No copies sold. So there's no copies sold on issue 5. How are these prices going crazy? Now let's look at issue 6 so we can continue on this story. This also is a 1 in 25 that came out in March of 2015. Again, about the same kind of print run, about 20,000. So the incentive here is just a little over 800 again, which is again why I like it. It's about the same as issue 5. Not a lot in the census here either. Only 4 in the census with 3 9/8 and 1 9/6. Here's some of those crazy price sales that I guess the seller was talking about. You know how much this sold for just a couple of weeks ago? It sold for $10. $10 is the sale price. One bid at auction. $10 plus $10 shipping. So we'll call it 20. It's crazy, right? April 3rd, right there on that price. To be fair, there are higher listings, 32 here, $60 there, $85 or best offer. Yeah, they're a higher listing, but you can't tell me they weren't just trying to shake me down for a few more bucks because I showed interest. That there were these other sellers, other purchasers that apparently didn't purchase, and they just decided to cancel the listings. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Again, I'm not here to put anybody on blast. I'm not sharing the seller's name. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just still trying to tell a story because I'm sure you guys have plenty of stories like this that you have experienced. I'm just saying that's a crappy thing to do to a buyer. That's all I'm saying. I get it if you decide to change your mind, or if you did have honestly an honest bidding war. Fine, there was a bidding war. Then God, go ahead, make as much money as you can. But how this played out, I didn't see a bidding war. I saw somebody trying to shake me down for a few more bucks, and then they decided to just pull the listings instead of dealing with. I mean, there's nothing I could do. Nothing I could do. There's nobody to complain to except tell you guys. So if I wanted to, I could put their name out on blast. But again, that's not what I'm here to do. If you do watch this and you know who I am and you were the seller doing this to me, just hopefully you feel appropriately bad for how you treated me. That's all. And hopefully you don't do it to the next person. That said, copies to be had because there's even more copies than this. But you can see this one is a little pricier, I think, because of this Babstar cover, which I know Babstar could be a little bit of a divisive. Except my buddy Mike Morello, he's not a fan. But I like this one. I do like this Babs. I did not purchase this one yet. I have an offer out there. We'll see if it comes through. Because again, I got a price. I got a limit that I'm willing to spend, and I'm not going to go above it because I'm trying to practice some restraint. I like it, but I only like it to a point. So we'll see what happens and if I can add number 6 to my number 5. But that's what I got for you this week. Hopefully you like that. And hopefully you like my little story. And hopefully it wasn't too much like sour grapes because I didn't get the book that I wanted. But we'll just have to say that these particular books, because there were multiple copies out there, we can only call these hard to find. Whereas the other 5, the couple of Storm books, the War of the Realms, the Cyclops even, and that Nightcrawler, all had either one or none on the market right now. Again, moment in time, that's what we got. So for right now, I feel all right calling these 5 the ghosts for this week because again, there's only one or none on the market when we're looking. So just again, this moment in time, that's where we're at. And again, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for putting up for me ranting and raving, I guess, for a little bit. I probably should have saved it for the tax show where I could have played off Marco and Corbin, but hey, I don't know. I couldn't hold it in when I was talking about these books because I don't know. I just thought it was a crappy thing to do, but it is what it is. You can do what you want. I mean, your store, you sell things how you want to. Just know that I'm probably not going to be shopping there anymore. That said, again, thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate you all. Hopefully you enjoy the content. Let me know what you think in the comments. Again, tag me on if you have any of these books or any other tough books that you want me to look into, you want me to share. I'll happily research it and take a look into it. My buddy Darth Lopez already gave me a G.I. Joe book that we might be putting on for next week. I just got to dig into the numbers and see how hard it is to find. And we'll see what we got there. And again, if you have any stories like the one I just shared, again, hit me up in the comments. Tell me about it. I don't care. Let's have a little session. We'll vent to each other. I don't mind. I just love talking comics. So with all that, thank you again. Hopefully you enjoy it. And I will be back soon with some more content. All right. Later, guys.